Hey, and welcome back to another HTML video. In this video, we're going to talk about images. Now, there are lots of reasons why you might want to add images to your website, and you could be for a logo, might want to add photographs, need diagrams or charts of some sort. You also might be selling something, so you want to advertise, right? There are a few things you want to consider that we're not really going to go over in this video whenever you're looking or wanting to put images on your website, and that's like the right format, so like PNG, GIF, JPEG. You want the right size. You don't want to have a small image, and then whenever you load it into your web page, it gets blown up. The resolution is going to be off, and it's going to look blurry. So those are some things you want to consider. We're not going to go over that in this video, but just something to be aware of. So we're going to be introduced to a new tag, and it's a different type of tag, actually. It's called an empty tag, and we'll see that next in just a minute. But so the new empty tag is just going to be a single image. It's not opening or a closing tag necessarily. And like last time, when we did links, we were introduced to the attribute, HTML attribute. So in this case, there's two of them. One that's very much needed, and that's the source attribute, and that's where your image is located. It could be a URL, or it's more than likely to be stored in a folder somewhere within your website folder structure. So you might just have like an assets or an image folder where it's stored. And then the alt attribute, if it doesn't load, then it gives a text description of what the image is. So even if it's not loaded, the user has some sort of idea what you're going with. So let's look at a code example now. And as you can see, when I talk about an empty tag, we just have the left caret and then the img for image, and then on the very right side, we just have what looks like the closing portion of the tag, just a slash and right caret. Because you don't put anything in between. You wouldn't put anything in between an opening and closing tag. Like there's no text that goes in there. It's all done within the image element itself. So as you can see here again, in the green, we have the attribute references where the source and alt. And in the red for the source, this is again, you might have an images folder, and that's where you're going to retrieve the image from. And the alt text is just there to, like I said already, if the image doesn't load, then this is a way to describe the image to the user in the event that does happen. Okay, so we're going to start coding, but before we begin, we need some images to display. So we're gonna find them ourselves, and all we really need to do is, you can do something low resolution. You can do 400 by 400, and something that's always safe is like an animal image, so cat images. So you just search for it. Let's go this one, and just right click, save as. I'm just gonna save to my desktop. I'm going to rename it because that is way too long. Cat image. All right. So that's all we really need to do. Okay. So we downloaded a single image, and you can now open up your editor, text editor, or IDE, whichever. So we're going to do some redundant coding again. It's a little repetitive, but it's going to help you. It's going to help you get better when you're developing HTML. You're going to understand and feel the code a little bit better. So we're going to start with a normal doc type, HTML opening, HTML closing. I forgot. Let's do language. Set this to HTML so we get some syntax highlighting. And we're just gonna have a title in our head tag. We're just gonna call this images demo, even though we're only having one image. Might just use it twice. Okay, so after you have your head and your title, then we need the content. So again, that's in the body tag. So we saw the example. So let's first put something in here. So let's call this cat demo or cat image. And again, this is the heading 1 tag as the largest font, and it's bold. All right, so let's start with the image. So we need left caret image. Again, this is different. This is an empty tag, not necessarily a closing or an opening. So that's what it looks like just by itself. All right, so the next thing we absolutely need, and that's the source. Now, whenever we do this, this is going to be our desktop, so we don't have to go down into any folders to search for it, and we don't have to go up into any folders to search for it. So all we have to do is remember what I called it? Oh, cat-image. Actually, what type of image? It's a JPEG. Okay. The other thing, find out what type of image, it is. Yeah. So cat-demo.jpg, and then we're gonna have our alt attribute. This is an example of a cat. Doesn't matter, whatever you put. Okay, so we can save this as on our desktop and call this cat demo or images demo.html. So now we have an HTML file. Let's open it, and as you can see, it actually didn't load. Let's find out why. Oh. So it's okay to make mistakes and understand what happened. So I called it cat-demo. It's called cat-image. I don't know why I was so happy when I said, oh, it didn't load. All right. So let's save that again. Now let's reload this. Okay. So here's just the round 400 by 400 image of a cat. Now there's a couple other attributes that we can add to the image tag, and I'm only going to go over 2 of them. There's several, but that's the height and the width. We can change both of those. So it's going to kind of look a little ugly. So height equals 300. Width equals 100. This is just so you can see what it looks like. And as you see, it's obviously very, very smashed together. But it's just so that you could clearly see that there was a difference. Let's actually make this. I don't know why I didn't do that before. Just make them both 100, so there's no doubt. Okay. So you can change the height and width. I wouldn't really recommend doing this. It's okay to do this for now, just so you understand it. But when we get into CSS, we're going to style everything using style sheets, and we're not going to do it within HTML. Okay, so let's go over what we just did briefly. So here we have our summary. We introduced a new element called an empty tag. And that's because there's nothing for an image, nothing to put in between the opening and the closing tag. So there's no text or anything because it's an actual file. So that's why we use an empty tag. We introduced the image element, which is what allows you to add an image on a web page. And the image element needs the source attribute and the alt attribute. And again, the source attribute is where you're telling the image element, where the file is that you want to load on your web page, where the image is. And the alt attribute gives context to what the image is if it doesn't load. Okay. I don't have this listed here, but again, you can change the height and the width of an image. I didn't really list it because we're going to do that later with CSS. but when we get there. And oh, and the last thing is what I talked about in the beginning, which you don't need to worry about too much right now, is you want images to be kind of the correct size when you're developing your web page, and you want to be in the right format. Uh, some of them, like JPEG, PNG, and GIFs, different file sizes, different quality, depending. It just depends on the need of your web page. So I hope you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you guys next time.